Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, we're live. Hello and welcome to the August 31st bug triage meeting for Operator Framework and Operator SDK. Let me go ahead. Oh, can people see me? Can people see stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and try and share my screen. Let's see if that works. Can people see my bugs and stuff?
I see the
Minimize all
browser,
of these
yes.
windows that have opened. Okay, so just going down the list. Oh, and actually before we begin, one of the bugs we talked about last week was the one with the guy with the Ansible operator who had some HPAs alongside the deployments that his operator was making. And there was some confusion about that last week, so we added it back to the list despite the fact that it had already been, people have been responding to it. They went back and forth with some additional settings like the blacklisting feature, and that was enough to satisfy his purposes. So he closed that issue, so it's not on the list this week.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, actually, before we get started, I did want to announce that we're going to be probably, but we're going to be planning to do a 1.0.1 release 2 weeks from today. So that's a tentative date. It's just a target. So keep that in mind if there's any issues that you'd really like to be backported.
Cool. Anybody else have any administrative sort of announcements they'd like to make? Okay. And actually, I should probably go ahead and ask for a volunteer to make any notes on the stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, cool. So first up is issue 3785. They have an operator that failed to create Helm chart, failed to fetch chart dependencies based on requirements.yaml. They're using an older version. Version 3 of Helm. I'm not terribly familiar with the Helm operator. So they have this requirements.yaml file and operator SDK is barfing on. Joe, you've already responded to this. Do you have any comments?
Sorry, what's the issue? I can't see any screen, and I've been trying to figure it out.
Wait, can people not see my screen?
Okay.
I can.
I think it's just me.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's 3785.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this one, there's an open issue in Helm. Basically, I think what's happening is there's this problem that Helm has with how it does dependency resolution combined with using its internal libraries to load a chart into memory and then write it back to disk, which is what the Helm operator is doing when you say like from this Helm chart and it's a local file, it'll load it to make sure it's all valid, and then it just writes it back into the Helm charts directory in the project. And when it does that, it's not round tripable. So the thing that gets written into the Helm charts directory is actually different than what was passed to it in the Helm chart flag. So there's an open issue upstream talking about this. I actually pinged the Helm maintainers last week on the issue that I opened. I haven't had a chance to go look and see if they responded again. I think we can assign this to me, which I'll do. I'll put the Helm label on it. Otherwise, like, I think this is just open and waiting to see if this person can do this a different way, or if there's I can't remember if I said there was a workaround that they could use. I think I did. So there's a couple options here. It looks like it's also waiting for them to respond. So I'll put that label in here too.
Okay, this seems like just something we can kind of throw in the backlog. And
yeah, actually, so we talked last week. I think this might have been in a Red Hat meeting, so I don't know if we want to interrupt this meeting to talk about it, but we talked about not just throwing stuff into the backlog.
Yeah, we might want to have a follow-up after the triage on this. I think we still need to discuss how this is going to be done. So I'm not going to, I don't think we should talk about any immediate changes that are going to happen.
Okay.
you want me to not put it in the backlog?
I think backlog is fine. If it's assigned to me, I'll be looking at what's assigned to me.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Why make this stupid menu go away? Make it be over there. Okay. 3790. Somebody's trying to upgrade from version 0.18 to 1.0. And I assume this also means they're probably using the old structure to the new structure.
Yeah, so I commented on this one, basically saying there shouldn't be anything that changed, although they're saying something seems to have changed. So I asked, what the reconcile method looks like. It seems like what's happening is probably related to the cache not being fully populated when the first reconcile run happens. But it's not clear to me why it would behave any differently under an older version of controller runtime versus a newer patch version of controller runtime. And the only thing I suggested is maybe there's something subtle that changed between the scaffolding in SDK 0.18 and 1.0. For instance, in 0.18, we would use like the underlying controller.watch methods directly, whereas in 1.0, controller runtime has this builder pattern, and the new 1.0 scaffolds use the builder pattern. I can't imagine that things would substantively change based on those differences, but it doesn't seem like there's enough here to try to reproduce it. It also sounds like it's specific to OpenShift routes. So I'm curious, like maybe, I don't know if like OpenShift APIs are hosted by a separate API service, and maybe that API service is taking longer to respond than the regular Kubernetes API server. Something like that might be happening.
It definitely sounds like something like that's happening. They say if they sleep for a second after the call to reconcile access, that this problem goes away, which leads me to believe that, yeah, it's just something that's taking long, or I suppose taking shorter than it used to, which is causing this to like thrash.
The how to requires the service, is not that, if I'm not wrong. So could it not be the service was not created yet when he tried to call the route? Like he's not checking if the requirements required for the how to be created are in place. Shows that it's something more programmatic issue, how the folk is doing.
I mean, it sounds like the actual content of the reconcile method is identical. between 0.18, where this problem wasn't happening and we're not aware it is. So I don't think it's related to like the logic of the update. I did ask, like, where in your reconcile method are you asking for routes? And it sounds like it's, I think in his second message, he says that it's part of reconcile access, which is after reconciling the service. So clearly by the time when he reconciles service, that seems to work as expected. And then he gets to the next method call, which is reconcile access. And that's what's causing a problem with OpenShift routes.
This is the interpret. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, but it shows that he is not checking if the service was created, if what is recorded is created to call the route. And also he's saying that the difference is the version of the project, but he change the environment, or his OpenShift cluster has more things now and it's taking too long. Other things
that's
like
possible,
that.
But they're stating that they haven't changed anything. So we can try and assume that they haven't changed anything and just triage the issue as they've posed it. I think it would be, I mean, the real way to do this would be to get the operator code and try and triage this ourselves on an OpenShift cluster. The controller runtime version in 0.18 is 0.50.
I think I checked and it was 0.60.
It's 0.60. So it's a change from 0.60 to 0.62.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, the thing that just gets me is like, what's the difference between actually, when we were scaffolding, there's some differences as well, right? We were doing like the dynamic REST mapper, like some of those kind of client configurations may be different.
Well, the dynamic REST mapper is the default for controller runtime. So
does it do lazy discovery by default in KubeBuilder?
I think so. Pretty sure it does.
And is that how did we configure it? I feel like in 18 we may have been configuring it differently. I don't think we need to go into too much here. I'm willing to go ahead and assign this to myself for now. I think there's more triage to be doing.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Like it might be a default change issue. Like some defaults were changed between our old code and the new code. So who knows? Yeah, thanks for looking into that.
The thing that I was interested in was that it looks like they're using Kubernetes 1.11.
3.11, so yeah, 1.11. Yeah, there's a bunch of old OpenShift cluster operators that need to support old OpenShift clusters that are still being worked on with newer versions of KubeBuilder and Operator SDK.
Wait, where are you seeing that?
If you look at the output of OC version in that comment block.
Yeah, but
We're using code-ready containers to build a 3.11. It looks like.
No, but the OpenShift version is
Yeah.
4.5.
Yeah, it's unclear actually. Are they using the code-ready containers OpenShift, or it looks like their OC is pointed to when they run OC version, they get 3.11. I'll make a comment about that.
Okay.
What brought me here, and I may be, this may be a dependency instead, but when I was looking at the 0.6.2 changelog for controller runtime, they've got update dependencies to Kubernetes 1.18.
Hey, Joe, that
If-
OC version, that's the client. because if you actually have OC connected to a server, there's 2 more lines that print out, which tells you the server version.
It does that here.
Yes, there it is. So they're using the OC311 client, but the server is the CRC, which is OpenShift 4.5, which uses 1.2.
Gotcha. So why didn't OC version print out the server lines for CRC?
That's it right there. One, John. Oh, you can't see it.
Yeah, sorry.
Wait,
Oh, I see.
Right-
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
2 lines below that. There's a blank line.
exactly. That's it.
I also think that if he is facing any problem in performance issues to connect in the API, he will see some logs, has a warning trouble saying that he has a timeout issue or take it too long. I'm quite sure that it appears in the logs because I saw some OpenShift clusters showing that. And okay, he's saying that nothing changed, but again, he's a user. I think he always is good to do, check. Did you have the same environment? Did you put your other applications? Is exactly the same? Something like that as well.
I think I'm going to try to I'm going to install CRC, see if I can come close to reproducing this, or at least poke around. The first 2 things I'm going to look at before I start asking if there's anything else different on their side is, one, is there anything, like I'm going to look at the difference between our main.go and 0.18 and our main.go and 1.0 and see if there's any differences in the way that we configure the client. And then 2, is there something in OpenShift, and I can't imagine how this would change depending on the SDK version, but maybe is the routes serviced by an API service rather than via the API server, and maybe because of some timing things with how the 1.0 stuff works, the fact that the API service is responding to the requests for routes, maybe that's having an impact. So I'm going to look at those 2 things, and I think we can move on because I don't think we're going to solve it talking about it here.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Moving on. Operator SDK init help text is not general enough. This is Austin.
Oh yeah. So this is sort of kind of glossing over the real problem, which is that Operator SDK init defaults to the Go plugin, and so it gives you the help text for the Go plugin and doesn't mention that you could be using the other plugins. Or actually, no, it does. It does mention the other plugins, but it's sort of hidden behind all this Go specific stuff. I'm not sure if there's a way of actually fixing this.
Can you actually make this issue upstream and close this? Because this is related more to the CLI system rather than the actual plugins itself.
But
So this is for Cobra or Cube Builder?
No, in Cube Builder.
Cool.
But what is your idea to improve that?
Well, it would be make the when you run the naked help for any command, it's generic. It's not related to a language. It's just telling you what happens when you run init, and then what plugins are available for you to run. So I think the right move would be output something pretty generic with flags, and then specify what plugins can be run, and say if you want specific help text for a plugin, run -- plugins, name of the plugin, help, and that would give you a more specific help text. But this should be tackled upstream and not in the SDK.
Cool. Will you assign it to me, and I'll close this when I filed an upstream issue?
Okay.
We might actually want to leave this open, and you can modify it to say something like Helm and Ansible plugin help text needs to be updated because we need to add. We'll probably need to add some Ansible and Helm specific help text to
What
type into the CLI.
What I'm afraid of this process, like this is not important for Copy Builder at all because they have just one type and this is something that doesn't make difference there. So we open the issue in the Copy Builder repo and we never will come back there. And we have the problem in our side, you know what I'm trying to say?
We work on the KubeBuilder project too. I don't see why that's a problem. And also the KubeBuilder project support, like that's the source of all the plugin code, right? So that they want, like the KubeBuilder project also wants other plugins to exist. They, like,
Yeah,
that's
but
where the plugin system exists. So
we
they're not
don't do bug
saying
triage
only no
there.
plugin should exist.
We don't do bug triage there. We don't, you know, we try to contribute and we try to help as much as possible. But this is something, you know, that we will track there. And we can easily just forget, you know. Otherwise, we need to make a personal note for one of us go there and try to improve.
I think this is a little bit of an orthogonal conversation to creating an issue upstream. So I would just say create this issue upstream and we can talk about this in the next KubeBuilder monthly meeting and also work on it in the meantime.
Yeah, regardless, this is definitely a KubeBuilder issue, so there should be an issue there because that's where the fix and PR is going to be.
And I'll keep this open just so that we don't lose it.
Yeah, thank you.
Even though the issue technically belongs in KubeBuilder, and I'll reference that here.
Yeah, this would be a solution also. Like this would be nice. Put the link for the Copy Builder issue, but leave it open and associate it with some milestone for our side or you know something like that. The only thing that I'm afraid is we started to track the things there. And you know, we are not doing the triage, you are not prioritizing, we don't have a milestone, so we lost.
I think the right answer is leave the issue open in Operator SDK, have it reference the upstream issue, and we'll be tracking it during our triages via the SDK issue.
Yeah, let's put it on milestone 1.1 so that it'll come back up soon if we haven't gotten to it already.
Do we have a label for like upstream? Might be
No.
some.
We're kind of avoiding creating one. Well, we were at least, because like if it's an upstream issue, then it should just be created upstream. But now we're talking about not just doing that. So I think we might want to have a larger discussion about this, maybe after the next triage meeting, so we have some time to think about it. But I can maybe create an issue in the SDK repo to talk about it.
We can also post it in the Google group if it's easier to discuss there. Either way.
I think that's the right move too. For now, I would just label this as documentation.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Moving on. Service account YAML migration in Operator SDK 1.0.
Right. So Joe and I have been talking to this person about them having two separate service accounts for their operator. One that, well, it's not for their, both of them are not for their operator. One is for their operator and its deployment. The other is for something operator adjacent that I think the operator controls. And this person wants to generate a bundle with a CSV containing one service account that maps the deployment and some RBAC And then they also want the service count and a separate role tied to that service count written directly into the bundle. It looks like they're not setting something up correctly because I tried a mock scenario of what they're talking about and it works. So we've gone a little bit back and forth with them about this, and we're waiting for them to respond to one of my comments down at the bottom that gives some more direction. So I think we can backlog this for now, since we're waiting a response. Yeah, awaiting more evidence probably.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Another 1.0. Explicit server account for operator causes bundle build to fail. So they're editing a thing, they're creating an API.
So this has to do with, I think, some new validation that OLM put forth in the bundle validate command, which prevents any like extra manifests that are written to a bundle from having a namespace field. This is because when OLM manages the creation of a resource, it handles namespacing, and I think they want to make sure that there's no pretense of like creating a resource in a namespace specified in a manifest, and OLM will do all that for you. So now that we write RBAC to a bundle, we need to start removing the namespace from that RBAC. Joe has a PR open for this already. So I would just put this in 1.1 and then maybe put lifestyle active on it.
I can do that.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else on this one? The 1.0, create service monitor with OLM. Says this is a duplicate?
Yeah, so this is a duplicate because this is effectively a feature request that already exists that I created a while back. If you scroll down to the bottom, the idea here is that OLM supports creation of several different GBKs for manifests. Well, I guess several different object types. One of those is service monitor. Right now, generate bundle will write only RBAC objects to the bundle directory because we don't have a feature that adds a bunch of different OLM types or OLM supported types to the bundle itself. Service monitors being one of them. You could write, I think, services and some other Prometheus related things to the bundle directory when you run make bundle or generate bundle. So we still need to write that feature, and yeah, there's already an issue for that.
Should we close this then as a duplicate?
Yeah, we could probably do that.
This is 1.2. Okay.
I can close that up.
Sorry, since I can't see stuff, are we putting it in a milestone?
The related issue, the one this is a duplicate of, is in milestone 1.2.
Okay, I think that probably makes sense. Eric, I don't know how much work it would take to do this feature, but I feel like it's probably pretty high priority. I have noticed, like doing some of the other code for the namespace problems, that we do have code in there that handles like other types. So I'm curious, like how much work you think it would be to add checks for these extra things and allow them through.
I mean, if we hard coded the list of types, then it wouldn't be hard at all. But if we want to be somewhat future proof, I think we need to think about a changing list of types and how to not break backwards compatibility or forwards compatibility. Since like we can install multiple versions of OLM.
Right. So I think so it sounds like the minimum we need to have a conversation with OLM about what different things are supported in which versions of OLM. For instance, I could see us saying, we'll just throw every single thing that you hand us into the manifest, and now it's up to OLM to decide what it's going to do. But only if OLM actually supports that.
Would you set the issue that is associated to the milestone like pre-audit?
I think it should be priority high or whatever that is, but I don't think it's like critical urgent necessarily. But this particular issue can be closed as a duplicate. The one next to it on your tabs, Jonathan, could probably be marked as important or whatever. And I think it's just a priority label. Important soon. There we go.
Okay. Anything else on these? So that's it for stuff on the list. I have a couple other issues I'd like to talk about. The first one of which is a open pull request over in the community org about adding community membership guidelines. There was some discussion on this. I mean, it's been going on for a long time now, but it seems like it's kind of petered out in more recent times. And I feel like it would behoove us to get this through at some point.
Yeah, I actually have time this cycle to work on this, and so I'm going to be pushing this through. I'm really hoping that I can get to it by like end of day today, because I know that there are a lot of reviews on here, and I assume that it will go through at least one more round of review before it gets in.
Okay. Well, I certainly encourage anybody, anybody who bothers to this call, or bothers to show up to this call. I would, love to hear your comments on what we have so far. Because this is kind of a formative thing. Now is the time to chime in.
Hey, Eric, thank you for highlighting that on the mailing list. I think that's appropriate. And don't forget to update that when you merge.
Will do.
Another semi-related piece of news is that, so as some of you may be aware, we separated out the operator library components into a separate repo. So there's nothing importable from Operator SDK anymore. But we now have this new operator lib repo in the operator framework. And last week, we updated that to start building via Prow and using Tide. So if you're familiar with upstream Kubernetes projects, a lot of those use Tide as well to do the PR merging and handle labels and all that kind of stuff. So the outcome basically is that now the management of those projects aren't tied to operator framework / Red Hat organization users. They're now based on the owner's file, and maybe there is some organization aspect to it, but anyway, the idea and the goal is that we can start adding reviewers at least, and theoretically approvers as well. So I think we need to start talking about what are the criteria for accepting new reviewers and new approvers, and start getting non-Red Hatters more involved in the actual PR review and approval and design and the entire development process. So anyway, I just want to highlight that. That's like one step closer to being able to get more involvement in contributors.
I also, I think I make a review for too long ago into this stuff, but I think the things that was strange for me was the names. Like I think it will be easier if we try to follow the Kubernetes org because the contributors are the same.
This is copied almost verbatim from there.
So there was one operative difference that I found, which is that we, at least as stated in the doc right now at this instant, LGTM, the ability to LGTM things is a member power, not a reviewer power.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I comment as well.
I think LGTMing things will only be like an accepted review if the person is a reviewer in the owner's file. Like you can still LGTM stuff if you're a member, but it won't actually be an LGTM. Could be wrong about that though. But yeah, once again, this was taken from the Kubernetes community repo almost verbatim, like including that section. So whatever upstream permissions are required, they will also be required here to LGTM and approve.
We might also want to review the language because I don't see anything stating that in here.
I think it has admins as well. I believe that
well, we don't
have admins.
What do you mean stating that we follow upstream permission structures?
No, stating that if you're a reviewer, your LGTM actually counts for purposes of merging pull requests. It just says, under members, it says members can do LGTM on open PRs. I don't see anything.
The implication, it seems like the implication is that if you can do /LGTM, you will get the label, and that effectively means that it counts towards PR merging. But I don't know if that's what we want. It seems like what you're suggesting, Jonathan, and what I would probably agree with is that you should have to be a reviewer to be able to apply the LGTM label. Or reviewer or better.
So it doesn't actually say, can you scroll up a little bit?
To the member
just
part?
for the reviewer header. Okay, so yeah, maybe that's something I will ask about upstream then.
The other difference I saw was it seemed to me that there was some extraneous language about how once you're a member, it'll will automatically run tests on your PRs, and it seemed that language was duplicated in the reviewers section. It says test will automatically run for pull request. Oh, it even still says members.
Yeah, we could probably remove that. You want to make a comment about that?
I've made comments to the effect.
Okay, yeah. So we should probably include something like all privileges and responsibilities of members plus blah, 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 and then do the same thing for approver. Okay. Yeah, so I guess in general, we don't really have to dive into this PR that much more, but if you have any follow-ups, just make PR comments and I'll look at them.
Okay. So that was it for the stuff I had to talk about. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss today?
I just have a general comment about Zoom, and I'm curious if anyone else is having this issue, but on this call, I've had to rejoin like 4 times because my audio keeps cutting out. It keeps asking for microphone permission again, and that's when my audio dies. So if anyone else...
I haven't had that problem.
I don't have that problem, but I've not been able to start my video, and I can't see anyone else's video. I don't know if that's because I need to log in, but...
I do not have this problem.
Well, I'm joining in the browser. Maybe I'll try the app.
So I've used
Yeah, I'm using the app.
I'm using the app too.
Yeah, I've used Zoom extensively for lots of things, and I use the app. And I don't even really remember I even have to setting stuff up. Like it's always worked for me. So I would definitely try using the app.
Yeah, the app is great. They roll their own encryption, so that's not great, but everything else about it is great.
That's why I got rid of the app.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if you work for certain companies, you can't even have the app installed on your desktop. So I know that they push people towards using the app. I would just like Google around for solutions to your problems. I haven't really experienced any of them before, but I'm sure other people have. The one thing I can say is that it might depend on what browser you're using. So I have heard that Chrome does work better with the Zoom web client as opposed to Safari or Firefox.
Sweet. All right, yeah, I'll try some stuff.
The only super annoying part is that share tool that's always in your way.
What's that?
When you're sharing your screen, there's a menu bar that pops up, and you can't get rid of it.
And it's always in the way.
You can move it around, but it's always going to be in the way somewhere.
That is obnoxious. Well, I didn't exactly expect everything to go very smoothly right off the bat, transitioning to a new video platform, especially with the host stuff. So hopefully we'll get the kinks ironed out in the future and maybe have some sort of FAQ for people to follow when they are first joining, see if they have any of the issues any of you have experienced, so we can get things going more smoothly next time.
Cool.
Okay. Is that it for stuff people want to talk about today then? Okay. Thanks everybody for coming, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See ya.
Thank you.